Hi, welcome to the second part of the video where I color freebie picture by Lenka Filonenko. In the first part, I explained that I color on the paper which has a very pleasant color, and that's why I selected this sheet of paper, but it was paper for soft pastels, so it has quite prominent, quite visible texture which resembles a little bit honeycomb. And this texture created me a lot of problems during first part of this color along. But at the time when I had to color this very cute bunny, I already got used to this paper and I got some experience. I decided that the best way to color fur on such textured paper will be to do first layer with soft pencils with Prismacolors to decide about main colors of the fur to indicate more highlighted and more shadow areas, and if I need to show individual hairs on the fur to show fur texture, then I will switch to harder pencils to Prismacolors, and it's exactly what I did here. For the inner part of the ear I used Deco Peach. Then I used white, and look how nicely white look on this toned paper. To color white fur of animals on the toned paper is probably 100 times easier comparing to coloring white animals on the white paper. So it was a pure joy. It was very easy to do, to apply this layer of a white color. White will be my brightest color, and then I will be using various shades of pale gray colors from Prismacolor set. I selected 10% French gray and 20% cool gray. I decided that I don't want to do completely white bunny, and I added a little bit of burnt ochre to draw some small spots on the ear, on the neck, a little bit on the nose, and I think that in this way bunny looks even more interesting. You can clearly see texture of the paper when I apply this first layer of a white pencil. But later, when I applied second layer and when I started to use harder pencils, I managed to cover all those uncolored spots, and in the end you will see that when I colored bunny with 2 or 3 layers of pencils, I managed to cover paper completely, so coloring looks quite opaque. And when I did background behind bunny, I deliberately applied very light pressure and I used soft pastel pencils. So green color of the paper will be visible through the background color, and I think that in this way doing bunny with opaque colors and background with semi-transparent colors, I tried to create impression of the depth. Or at least bunny definitely looked that it's on the forefront and background is somewhere behind it. When I color bunny, I try to mask black lines with my light pencils. I simply go over black lines which I printed, and I managed to mask almost all of them. I left only lines along poles, just not to lose them. If I had to color this picture on the white paper, first I would do much more intense background inside of the circle in order to make white fur of the bunny to create nice contrast with the background, and probably I would add more bright spots to the bunny's fur. Maybe I would add some black spots or even more prominent ochre and orange spots. But here, as I said, it was very nice not to think about how to divide white paper from the white fur. So coloring on the toned paper has a lot of advantages, especially when you need to color something with light colors. But there are also some disadvantages. First is if you work on such textured paper like I have here, it's difficult to cover all spots of the paper if you don't want them to be visible, so you will need to apply at least 2 or 3 layers, and it's mm, more than I usually use on white paper. And also on this textured paper, my soft Prismacolor pencils, they expanded and they crumbled much more comparing to the less textured paper. But with harder pencils like polychromoses, I didn't have similar problems. I think that it's all of what I wanted to explain regarding this color along. I'm really very grateful to Lenka Filonenko that she provided this picture for free. I think that it's one of the cutest spring pictures, Easter pictures, which I own, and it was much more inspiring for me comparing to other pictures which I found in my coloring books. So if you like it, go and check Alenka's Facebook group or her personal website. You know that my second hobby is cross stitching, so apart from watching coloring YouTube, I also watch FlossTube in English and in Russian. And on Russian FlossTube, I found quite interesting tech questions about regarding hobbies during self-isolation and quarantine time. And I thought that probably maybe it will be interesting to answer these questions, but regarding coloring. First question is, during self-isolation, do you start to color more or less? For me, I definitely started to color more, and most of all, I enjoyed possibility to color during daytime and daylight. You know that usually I color after work, so in the evening, and mostly using artificial lights. Sometimes it's quite difficult to adjust my camera to the artificial light to get a realistic balance of whites and balance of colors. So of course coloring during daytime is much easier, and I believe that picture is much more beautiful. Previously I had this possibility to color during daylight only on weekends, and of course now I enjoy this time. And another thing that somehow I feel that I need to provide more YouTube content because so many people now have more free time, but in the same time they maybe need something to distract them from their thoughts, to have something interesting to do. So probably it's another reason why I want to create more videos, to show you more, to show you something new, and it's also push me to color more. Second question, does your hobby, so coloring for me now, helps you to be calmer during these difficult times? Does it help you to distract from thoughts about your problems? And you know, my answer is no. Coloring doesn't help me to distract, doesn't calm me. Cross stitching really calms me, and that's why from the beginning of self-isolation I really started to do cross stitching, probably 3 times bigger comparing to the normal time. I would say that I stitch like crazy. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because when I do cross stitching, I simply need to count my stitches. The final look of the picture is already decided by designer. I already know what I will get in the end. But when I color, everything depends from me, and I have to be at, like 100% active um, state. I have to be very creative if I want to do something beautiful. So if I am distracted, if I am concerned by some problems, if I don't have good mood, if I am upset, I never start to color. Maybe I believe that what I feel is somehow is transforming into my pictures and on my videos, and I want to create them only when I am in the good mood and when I am happy. So that's why I don't think that coloring calms me. Cross stitching, yes, but it helps me to distract me from my problems. So it's 50-50, I would say. I can't say that I am very preoccupied regarding current state of things. So as I am not upset, I can color. And that's what I feel regarding my stitching, coloring, and our self-isolation. But the next question is how self-isolation influenced or affected your coloring. And I think that yes, it's affected. I already did one picture about gnomes in self-isolation, and when I started to color that page, I didn't have this idea at all. I did background and only then I thought, oh, they are looking like they all are sitting in their individual flats, so maybe I will make them also on self-isolation. So somehow it's influenced. I also looked at pictures, where we have angels which are uh, saving world, and pictures similar to it, some pictures from Jasmine Beckett Griffiths with similar subject. So when I select picture, I think that thoughts about this, what we have, all those problems which we have in the whole world, yes, it's probably somehow affects my coloring. And I also a little bit preoccupied about possibility to get art supplies. I realized that my black pencil it's almost finished, and my Posca pens are also almost empty, and in a week or 2 weeks it will be a huge problem. I definitely don't want to go out to the post office. There we always have a lot of old people, and I definitely don't want to risk their lives for just getting my parcel from art store. It doesn't worth it, of course, so somehow I will use those pencils which I own, and it's a good thing that my art stash is quite big. At least I have a huge amount of coloring books, and I don't have to worry about what to color. I am worrying about a little bit with which to color, but I think that I will manage to hold on until the end of the quarantine time. And another thing I wanted to mention is how great is our coloring community. You know how many artists provided their freebie pictures for us to color. I also saw a lot of supporting posts from one colorist to another, and in other groups dedicated to other hobbies like cross stitching. I would say that there is there is some support and some freebie pictures, but not as strong as in our community, and I would say that it's great. I feel this support from throughout the world, and I can feel that we all in the one boat, is, if it's possible to say, and for me this thought it's very calming. Well, I hope that my babbling wasn't very stupid, but I really wanted to share with you my thoughts. It was interesting for me to think about this problem regarding how self isolation affected my hobbies, and my own answers was a little bit surprised for myself. You can see that I started to do background. I added a little bit of yellow because I wanted to support bright yellow color, which I used for the tips of the petals of the targetis flower. And then I used Prismacolors. First gray-green light, which is very nice on toned paper, and then I switched to powder blue. You remember that while I was coloring tulips, I added a little bit of lavender, and I did it because I wanted to use lavender on the background also. So on the side of this circle opposite to tulips, I will also add a little bit of lavender colors. You can definitely see texture of my paper because I use a very light pressure on the pencil. I wanted to make background semi-transparent. In the end, when I finally got used to this paper, to its texture, I really enjoyed this process. And of course, to do a white rabbit on the toned paper was much more easier and quicker comparing to coloring the same picture on the white paper. Well, I thank you for watching this color along and for listening to me if you haven't switched off sound already. And I hope that until Easter I will be able to color at least one other picture. Stay safe and have wonderful Easter time with your family.